And welcome to the Calculus Building. My name's Gregory Carlson. Let's look at the addition and subtraction rule, which also is luckily pretty simple. Let's say I have a situation where I have two functions, both of the same variable, so they're both of x, and let's say that they're being added together. The question is, what is the derivative of that? And it turns out that if we have two functions that we are being added together and we want to take the derivative, the answer is simply the two derivatives added together. So that's kind of nice. If I have two functions being added, I can just take their derivatives. So that's something you'll want to remember. So let's look at the proof of that. And with all these proofs, we're going to be using the definition of the derivative. So we're going to take the limit, as usual, as h goes to 0, and I have two of these being added together. So first I have f of x plus h minus, I should say plus g of x plus h to do this correctly. So I have f of x plus h plus g of x plus h, because remember that's kind of my entire function right there. And then we're subtracting f of x minus g of x. And then all of that's being divided by h. So that's my starting value because I'm taking the derivative of all of this. So I need the f and g together, minus f minus g all over h. And you can see that basically this proof is just reorganizing these things. So let's collect our f's together. Let's collect our g's together. So you can see all I'm doing is I just rearranged the terms on the numerator. And whoops, I'm sorry, I forgot my limit. And now let's go ahead and break this up, because you can remember from our earlier videos, we can take this limit and apply it to separate parts of the fraction. So what we can do now is write the limit as h goes to 0 of this first part, which is f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. And then we can add the limit of the g's over h. Okay, so now we're going to add the limit as h goes to 0 of g of x plus h minus g of x all over h. And now you can see what I've done. So I have my f all by itself and my g all by itself, and these are just two derivatives, f prime of x plus g prime of x, and that completes the proof. So we've shown that if you have two functions being added together, you can take the derivatives of them separately. And I'm not going to prove the subtraction rule, but the proof is basically the same. You would just have a subtraction sign here and a subtraction sign here, but it's essentially the same thing. You get f prime of x minus g prime of x. I hope you see that this is a satisfactory proof for the derivative. You need to use the definition of the derivative and all the way to the end so that you can prove these things. We're going to now start to look at the derivatives of some very simple functions, and we're going to see how easy this is.